After Agent Faye Lau's death, we were able to get our hands on her laptop at Camp White Oak. On closer inspection, it is found to contain 6 encrypted files called insurance policy. Kelso has managed to decrypt 3 of them, and the information exposed so far changes things quite considerably.
I know we haven't worked together for very long, but I trust you, Kelso. That's funny. You remind me a lot of my sister, Heather. I think you would have liked her. Probably a lot more than you liked me. Maybe that's why I couldn't tell you. I knew you would have tried to help. We're the same in that way. There are too many people who need you, who count on you. Fuck. Even Rhodes loves you and he hates everybody. Once you got to New York, it was clear they didn't need me anymore. But there was something else happening. Another threat was building, and I had to figure out what it was before it was too late. And I did it. I figured it out. I know what's coming, Kelso, and I know how to stop it. I just have to secure the button, then we can fight it together. We're family now. We bonded fighting this war. Kelso, you're the only sister I have left. I couldn't tell you what I was planning. I needed you angry at me to keep my cover. I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. But I couldn't find another way to do this. Please know it only went down this way because the division couldn't afford to lose you too. They need a leader. And you're the only one I trust.
I see this comms as confirming 2 things. Firstly, something I've talked about for a long time, that Faye wasn't really rogue, that she was undercover. The most obvious piece being the messages she left with Benitez and Rhodes, apologizing for what she was about to do. Secondly, the writers seem to be trying to paint Kelso in a better light. I see you, Lauren Stone, trying to stop me swaying the community in the wrong direction. By the way, I love your work, lady. I've been saying for years that I don't trust her, and don't get me wrong, she still irks me to a certain point, though this could be my own life experience bias coming through. Kelso reminds me so disturbingly much of an old girlfriend of mine from many years ago, who legitimately still scares the crap out of me. Like, that crazy chick would have cut me and worn my skin as a onesie, I swear. Though to be fair, as a young fella, I probably would have more than deserved it. Anyway, the message is clear, and I think this is a direct response to the speculation going on around the community. Kelso is well and truly one of the good guys. Or at least this is what they'd like us to think going forward. Faye talks to her with fondness, and even compares her to her sister. She wants to do better by Kelso, and not let history repeat itself. Where she feels she failed her sister, she wants to protect Kelso and keep her safe. She also seemed quite aware of what her betrayal might possibly do to the division ranks, and she believed that they still needed someone strong on their side to keep them inspired and focused in the right direction. And Kelso was the only one who she believed could do that. Faye then goes on to talk about another threat that was building, and that she had figured out what it was, that she knows what to do, but needs to secure the button. As we talked about in the last video, this button is most likely to be the nuclear football, the briefcase that contains the President's authentication codes for initiating a nuclear strike. We know that Faye was successful in taking down President ELLIS, but where is the nuclear football now? Did she manage to grab this and hide it somewhere? Or is it now with the Black Tusk?
I hear your boy Schaefer's having trouble handling some former subordinates of mine.
Schaefer isn't the problem, Cal.
Does he have trouble taking orders from a woman?
Not at all. He's oddly one of the good ones. He has never questioned my authority. Your agents are not team players.
They were never supposed to be.
Which is fine when you need an assassin, but when you're nation rebuilding, you need to have a modicum of interpersonal skills.
Are you saying they're no longer a good fit, and may have trouble staying on mission?
They're rogues, Cal. By your own definition, they are off mission.
Do you need me to send the cleanup crew?
I don't know if it has come to that yet, but we could use some additional support. Schaefer can't be everywhere at once. These agents are all over the map. DC, New York. He goes to help one and he fails the other. We need someone who is mobile, under the radar, and can gain access and assess whether or not it is worth continuing to support Agent Lau's operation.
Do you trust her, Natalia?
No. But she also hasn't given me a reason not to, other than being a rogue. But I prefer to not let labels define a person's character. She will show me who she really is in time. From what I can tell, she's loyal to a fault, dedicated, community-minded, and selfless. Those are traits that can be wonderful or a liability. It just depends on how fixed or malleable she is.
From what I remember from her assessment, she can get fixated. And I'm fairly certain her personality assessment was lawful good, which is appropriate for your organization, as long as she feels her work leans toward justice.
We're trying to save the American dream. What could be more just than that?
Here we are introduced to Kelvin McManus, a name we previously heard about in Ellis's memoirs. The way he talks with Natalia appears that they don't necessarily just work together, that he holds more of a position of prominence over her. But what I found interesting here was the mention of former subordinates. Further into the comms, it's clear that they're talking about Barden Schaefer's operation, where he was teamed up with a bunch of rogues that Faye had put him in contact with. This implies that McManus is reasonably high up within the government, or potentially within the SHD. But this doesn't make complete sense. The word subordinates means that these rogues were previously under his authority or control, and as we well know, the division only answers to the president. Officially, according to the US federal government, the Strategic Homeland Division is formally listed as part of the Department of Homeland Security. However, they report directly to the President of the United States. The SHD is led by a board of directors. There isn't a single centralized facility that everything is run through, because the SHD has been put in place as a unit that activates in time of catastrophic emergency. Having a single headquarters would leave them vulnerable to attack or disaster of some kind. Instead, the rule of three is applied. The Division HQ is located in 3 identical bunker facilities called cores. Each core is independently operated and managed by a director with a seat on the board. These facilities are located through the center of the country in South Dakota, Kansas, and Texas. Maybe McManus is part of the SHD's board of directors. McManus talks about the rogue agents not really being trained to work as a team with an army like the Black Tusk. And this is true. They're meant to be autonomous, to be able to continue their work with minimal to no direction or leadership, in case these two have fallen. Again, this just confirms that he is somewhere in a position of prominence in the government, because only a handful of people were privy to information around the division. Next, he suggests sending in a cleanup crew, and while Natalia declines this, she still requests support, as Schaefer can't be everywhere at once. She would prefer someone who is mobile, under the radar, and can gain access and assess whether or not it's worth continuing to support Agent Lau's operation. This is interesting, because if we go back to the Schaefer manhunt, where he was struggling to get these rogues in line, there was a hunter who was involved. He kept popping up. When coming up against each rogue agent, this hunter wasn't just fighting the division agents, he was attacking the rogue targets too. It could have been that the hunter had assessed the situation and decided that the rogue's part in this operation had been lost or completed, so had to be eliminated before the division was able to capture and interrogate any information out of them. Joke was on him though. We kill everything. Well, apart from Schaefer of course. Actually, probably the only reason we were able to take him alive was because we had already disposed of the hunter by then. So if this is true, McManus is the one behind the hunters. This potentially makes them American. But if a single hunter was just support, what is a cleanup crew? Would that just be a whole bunch of hunters, or something else? The only other thing that I wanted to talk about with this is where they mention Faye's operation. What is it that they thought she was doing? I mean, we know what she was actually doing, under her own agenda. But what was she supposed to be doing for them? Was it just a test, where the outcome would decide whether to bring her further into their circle, and before she could get there, we took her out? I get the feeling that Natalia may actually believe what they're doing is right for the country. But McManus? Nothing seems right about him. Is it possible that Natalia is yet another individual in the Division universe that is having her strings pulled by someone else? I had hoped to release all 3 parts in this video, but I keep going back to the 3rd one and rewriting it. This one is particularly interesting, and has ended up taking a little longer than I'd planned, but I'll have it out soon. As you will have noticed from the opening scene in the video, we can already see the name of the next 3 parts: Tactics, Cuts, and Rendezvous. If the ones we've seen so far are anything to go by, these are looking to get progressively more interesting as we get through them, and I'm a little excited to say the least. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you soon in the next one. Cheers!